Southern Sudan, as close as you can get to the heart of Africa, a country which for centuries has had only sporadic contact with the outside world, inhabited by people whose lives are moulded and directed by ancient traditions. When Sudan gained independence from the British in the mid-1950s, a civil war broke out, and apart from a few brief intervals, has continued intermittently ever since. For a long time there seemed to be nothing here but sterile wilderness. Now the situation is different. Foreigners with grandiose schemes have begun to take an interest in the impoverished, war-devastated South. It's a question of oil. Militia groups who support the government are looking for a chance to control the oil fields. They often recruit children as soldiers. 12-year-olds in uniform armed with rifles are such a common sight these days that no one reacts. The issue of child soldiers in southern Sudan is complicated and bound up with the whole political situation. The lack of jobs and of a future breeds desperation. Will the foreigners bring happiness or misfortune? As yet it's too early to say. What is clear, however, is that the old way of life is undergoing a brutal transformation, which affects children and adults alike. In size, Sudan is Africa's largest country, and a lot of it is controlled by the SPLA, a mostly ill-equipped barefoot army who are fighting for a new Sudan free from Muslim dominance. The war continues to reap new victims. So far, about 2 million Sudanese have been killed in the hostilities. The Red Cross Field Hospital in northern Kenya provides medical care for the victims of the war who have managed to get there. The government forces in Khartoum frequently carry out raids using high-altitude bombers which are hard to detect in time. The civilians in the targeted villages are easy game. Many of the dead and wounded are children. To receive an artificial limb is a blessing granted to only a few. This inexpensive technical aid will revolutionize the life of a bomb victim and enable him to lead an almost normal life. Without it, he will become a helpless beggar, one of the many thousands in Sudan. Taking part in a game of volleyball with only one leg is a playful way of learning how to cope with one's handicap. The war is mainly being waged south of the 10th parallel, far away from the capital city. In Khartoum, the war is less apparent. Many northerners have never set foot in the south. Normally only people in uniform, called up for military service, go there. President Omar Bashir seized power in a military coup in 1989. More recently, he received a vote of confidence at a general election in autumn 2000.
Is there an organized opposition that could take over government if they were given a chance?
No, I don't think.
What about the parties that do exist? Are they not to be taken seriously?
No. The parties now, they are outside the environment psychologically and politically, and they are in Asmara, in Eritrea and in Egypt. But here you cannot feel them.
The problem of the Sudan I would characterize as similar to that of apartheid South Africa, where you had racial apartheid. In the Sudan, we have double apartheid, racial and religious apartheid, and the whole edifice, the whole structure of the apartheid system in the Sudan must be abolished, and a new Sudan, a government that represents the new Sudan be put in place in Khartoum. If that does not happen, then definitely the country will split in two.
The few remaining opponents are extremely pressurized.
There is no political freedom here. We are under a ruthless dictatorship. What I am doing every day here, this meeting of ours, it is against the law. And this office may be attacked in a minute.
Sudan is exceptional in many ways, and religion is a powerful influence. There is little political freedom, and the mosques are important centres for an exchange of opinions. People meet here and confirm one another's political attitudes. The mosque functions rather like a club for men, where Fridays are spent in prayer and meditation. They discuss life, religion and politics. Everything is one.
We think Islam is a religion to dominate all affairs, whether it's just religion or the affairs of life. So I am with applying Islam as a religion to all our affairs.
But what about the people in the south who are Christians or animists?
It's up to them to accept our role, our Qanun, or to change their Qanun. It's up to them. So as a Muslim, we have been ordered by God to follow Quran and follow Sunnah.
The south is the land of the herdsman. The long drawn-out war has certainly transformed life for many, but there's still a lot that has remained unchanged for centuries. Up until the early 1900s, people in the south were still prey to the Muslim slave hunters from the north. The master-slave relationship lives on as a bitter memory in the mind of many an old person. The historical legacy is part of the complexity of the conflict in Sudan. The fact that northern Sudan is part of Africa's predominantly Arab region, while the south has quite a different ethnic identity, is significant and should not be overlooked when seeking to understand the essence of the conflict. The population of Sudan is made up of a large number of widely differing ethnic groups. Resolving the conflict, therefore, is not merely a question of the just division of power. The problem is more deep-seated. A lot of children choose to join the fighting units, as they often guarantee a better livelihood than the meagre one to be had from farming, which is their only alternative. Being a soldier confers a higher status than labouring on a farm, for instance. Because of the war, the Nuba Mountains have been isolated for 15 years. People here live on a subsistence level. However, not everyone becomes a soldier voluntarily. Coercive enlistment occurs on both sides. The military authorities in Khartoum are responsible for the kidnapping of small boys who are forced to take part in the fighting.
نينا كان في مدرسة سنة ثالثة ياهو قمنا كان مشينا المدرسة وجونا الكش ديل ياهو جا كشونا جو بعربية جالوا مننا 14 نفر عندما شبينا لمحل اسمه القتينة مشينا القتينة هناك قعدنا شهر ونص ياهو قام جا شالونا ودونا لمنصغية هناك قاعدين في المنصغية هناك قعدنا أيامات 14 يوم كده. عندنا من هناك قمنا اتحركنا عندنا قمنا جينا للمنطقة وعندنا تاني جينا مشينا في منطقة برضو عندنا جينا له عندنا قمنا جينا من هناك قمنا حركنا لمهل جد الربانة عندنا جينا في الشكلة عندنا جيش شعبي عندنا قام جو هاجمونا.
The kidnapping and forced enlistment of juveniles is only one extreme effect of this lengthy war, the end of which is by no means in sight.